Dear Ms. Hanrahan, it is anticipated that at the final Planning and Supervision Commission, at the Financial Planning and Supervision Commission, the commission, meeting this week, the City of East Cleveland will request that the commission approve the application for issuance of local government notes. In my capacity as financial supervisor, my office has determined that prior to the approval of this local government borrowing, the city should be in compliance with ORC Chapter 118 and the Financial Recovery Plan that was approved by the Commission on June 3rd, 2014. And that goes directly to ORC 118.15 that states that. The city is currently out of compliance with Chapter 118 and the plan in the following areas. The Law Enforcement Trust Fund and Self-Insurance Fund are not accounted for on the city's books or included in the city's budgetary process of estimating revenues and establishing appropriations. The following funds either have expenditures in excess of established appropriations or appropriations that have not been established and supplemental appropriations are required. And it then lists the local law enforcement block grant fund, HSB Transportation Fund, which I will ask with clarification of that, the Water Capital Improvement Fund, the Helen S. Brown Fund, the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, and the Self-Insurance Fund. In addition to the above areas of non-compliance, we have identified the following areas of additional concern that we want to bring to the attention of the Commission. The city included revenue/expenditure estimates in the plan that are not being received or expended in accordance with those estimates. These items include traffic camera revenues that are estimated at $950,000. As of June 30th, the city has only received $57,000. The cell tower lease was estimated to generate $400,000. The actual amount generated was $315,000. The city switched to a self-insured program for health care, and although the city has started to receive claims, the claims are not being presented to the city on a consistent or timely basis. Due to this, we are unable to determine if anticipated savings of approximately $168,000 in the general fund are being realized. For purposes of reviewing compliance with the plan, receiving less revenue than projected is as dangerous as spending in excess of projections and has the same dollar-for-dollar impact on the bottom line. The difference, of course, is that expenditures are within the control of the city administration and revenues are not. The weakness in revenue is not the fault of the city administration, but the administration must respond to it just the same. The plan will be out of compliance until adjustments are made to compensate for the lagging revenue. The city needs to issue local government notes due to its deficit fund balances and its substantial overdue accounts payable. As soon as the foregoing items are addressed, the financial supervisor anticipates supporting authorization of the application for the note issuance. However, this should not occur until the city is in full compliance with the approved plan. We urge the Commission to take no action today, but to set another meeting at the earliest date the city advises it can remedy the outstanding items. Thank you for the opportunity to bring these items of non-compliance and additional concerns to the attention of the Commission. Sincerely, Dave Yost, Auditor of State. Auditor's Office, any comments? First of all, because what is the HSB Transportation Fund?
We were just talking about that this morning.
I think it's one of those not used funds.
It's one of those funds, but we're going to look into that.
Okay. Anything that you would like to speak to as far as any action that may have already been started on these?
Yeah. We've been talking with Jack pretty regularly about some of these issues. Where the city, it's a kind of a two-step thing here, it appears. The city needs to get those funds on the books, and we're in the process of doing that. We're going to need some legislation passed by City Council. In addition to that, once those couple funds are on the books, appropriations need to be put in place. So we're in the process now. As you know, at the last meeting, we didn't have those bank accounts reconciled. So we actually have a gentleman today starting that reconciliation process. So we'll get to know for sure the balances and reconcile balances.
And these, for our edification, these funds, these accounts were actually the accounts that have been on your reconciliation, but those were cautioned, they weren't in the city treasury, and they were accounts held outside. And all the information you received was bank statements, which doesn't prove that it was reconciled at all. It's just a statement.
Right, right. We're just getting the bank statements, which were presented to the commission. We're now verifying that the balances are what they are, getting good reconciled balances. We'll then present to City Council this fund that needs to be added. We've already added the self-insurance fund. Council's acted on that. Once those are acted on, they're on the city's books, we're then going to ask for appropriations that are in line, appropriate for those funds.
Okay. I guess I turn to the city, Mr. Weaver. Thank you for coming here in place of Ms. Thomas. I don't think Ms. Thomas was trying to set you up at all. I'm sure she knew nothing of this. Given the schedule, I guess from what I'm hearing is that the reconciliation has to occur first, and they're having some work on this now. Once that's accomplished, could City Council meet? First of all, I guess law directors got to draft the ordinance, correct? And then City Council would have to meet.
Well, you know, thank you, Madam Chair. We've been working with the finance director and administration hand in hand. What needs to be done, we've done. Whatever has to be done, we're doing it. And we're making special meetings and so forth so we can accommodate them for time.
Okay. Mayor, anything that you want to add to that?
No, I just appreciate the outline of what has been done and what has been started. I don't anticipate any problem with any of these things. You know, one thing about having such little money is that you do spend it on only the things that you need. And so we don't have any issues with that, and the balances are what they are. I've talked directly with the police chief. We've worked for a while to get these accounts into the city's purview of what it should have and not outside, so we're all committed to that. Certainly, we do have a meeting with the traffic camera company tomorrow. And that is no joke. That meeting has been set for a while. I wish it was yesterday so I could tell you how it went, but it will be tomorrow. The cell tower lease, we've signed that. The check is coming. So we've executed that thanks to City Council. And of course, I'm looking at page 2 with the revenue items. But you know, we are working on those things. In addition to that, we're trimming our city departments still. We do know that asking people not to work for the city anymore is one way of trimming the payroll. Another way is that those people find that there's another position for them in life. And we have, quite frankly, 5 police officers who within the next 2 weeks will be taking different positions. So in these circumstances, the best way to trim the organization is to have people make a life decision that allows them to do something different. So those are just a few examples, anecdotal as they may be, but we are continuing to trim the payroll. For our fire department, for instance, we had in January over 590 hours of overtime in our fire department. In June, we had about 80. So, and since that time, we've cut our payroll from 400,000 to about 320,000 on a typical payroll. So that's a 20% real cut in payroll. It's a significant decrease in the hours of overtime in some departments. It's allowing people to move on to different positions in different places in order to shed personnel costs in other departments. And in addition to the things listed in this letter, I know that we've made progress on some of them. We're not denying any of them, and we want to get them done as quickly as possible, and we're keeping City Council in the loop. And we had a meeting with City Council, and they indicated that they take the timeline and the plan very, very seriously. And we all know that executing a plan of this nature is not easy. We'd much rather execute a growth plan. But we have to execute the plan that's in front of us. I appreciate the commission. I appreciate the auditors. In addition to that, we do have, I don't want to make this a long speech. It's a little late for not making our long speech. We do have PFM, a private sector firm who is our management consultants funded by the auditor's office, and they're making some recommendations for us as we speak. So we've got those things that we've come up with as public officials and appointed officials to do things that we can with us and make adjustments. We've also got the private sector engaged, and they'll have some recommendations for us too.
Great, great. Yeah. Jack.
Madam Chairman, I also wanted to add that a lot of the issues that are raised in the auditor's letter, a lot of them that deal with the appropriation and budgetary issues, we've had some conversations as early as this morning with Nita and Tish, and I think that we can resolve them very quickly.
You know, as a matter of fact, one of those, the Helen S. Brown Fund, I had noticed, you know, the auditor's office presents us with a wealth of information at every commission meeting. And sometimes that takes more than, not sometimes, it many times takes more than one look through. And after our meeting, I had indeed noticed that the expenditures in the Helen S. Brown Fund had exceeded the appropriations. So that was sort of a red light to me. And the appropriations of budget for the city, not only in this year, but estimated in following years, is just as integral to the plan as the actual action items are, because you have to stop the bleeding and you have to live within your means. So, and that's the idea of what appropriations are. You can only spend that much. If that much is not enough to support those services, you've got a decision to make. That decision is either to discontinue or greatly reduce those services, or take that spending authority from another department. So, but you've got to stick within your appropriations. The revenue's unfortunate. The traffic cameras, who knows? And the cell tower lease, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that not based on a comparable?
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, these weren't numbers that were pulled out of a hat. These things just happened to have happened. It just played out that way.
Right. The city did its best. They sent out the bids. This is what they got. So.
We could have painted it.
I don't know, you know, really,
Painted it looks better.
really, I don't know.
Sure.
Yes.
I could ask a
Sure.
question here, maybe a comment. As I look at this schedule prepared by IFS, it appears the city council is going to have a special meeting, or was scheduled to have a special meeting tomorrow. If there are any matters that can be, any action that can be taken tomorrow towards clearing this up, hopefully the team will be working on whatever can be done if they're already scheduled to get together. But I imagine not everything's going to be solved by tomorrow.
Right.
And that means this schedule then goes out the window. And let me echo the auditor's comments that on behalf of the treasurer, once these matters are cleared up, we support the concept of this borrowing. And the sooner the city is able to get a handle on these deficit fund balances and begin working the plan, you know, having the financial recovery plan actually not only approved, but now working forward on it, the sooner the city is able to be on solid ground. So I just want to ask Mr. Johnson or the auditors, the impact of time. Is there, you know, a drop dead deadline we're looking at? How soon do we need to be back? And I also want to suggest, Madam Chairwoman, if need be, because it would look like not everything's going to be solved by council tomorrow, that we need councilmatic action. So you're probably going to need a subsequent council meeting, then us meeting, then the council approving the ordinance. Rather than getting to where that is days or even weeks between meetings, I, for one, would be willing to come on a day that the council would be meeting. They could take their action, we could take ours, and they could be back in session. Whatever we would need to do, provided all parties involved do the things they now need to do and have been identified. So what is the impact on timing, and what are we looking at for when things need to get done?
As you can tell by that calendar, it's very tight. It was a very tight schedule, and we had looked at a final closing of June 20th. I'm sorry, August 20th. Obviously, that's not going to work now, so we're going to come up with some alternatives. But I appreciate the commission's willingness to, meet on very short notice. We've gotten that commitment from City Council. So we're going to do what we need to do and get those issues cleared up and get them in front of the City Council as soon as we possibly can, and in front of the commission subsequently. In terms of the timeline, obviously it delays us, so we're looking probably closer to the end of August, maybe into the beginning of September. So it does delay us several weeks.
Do you mind if I just prompt Jack for a moment?
Sure.
Jack, internally, for a lot of reasons that we're all aware of, it's more important than what you just stated, isn't it? The timing.
The timing is because obviously cash flow is a problem, and the borrowing is a huge part of the financial recovery plan. We're concerned about the third payroll in August, which occurs August 29th, which we were zeroing in on. And that is critical. Our priority is to make sure that employees are paid. Having said that, time is of the essence. And, we're going to try to make it as close to that as we possibly can.
If I could just add, and again, I don't say that I'm an expert in anything, certainly not in this. But that schedule is extremely aggressive. Eunice, was it Campbell we talked about, or was it Garfield as far as how the issuance?
One of the two.
Okay.
They approved the application on June 9th. They came back and approved the actual resolution a month later, and then it wasn't until October, November when we actually got the decision. So it takes time. But as far as the timeline for the auditor's office to do what they need to do to get the city what they need to do, the auditor's office is going to need at least 3 to 4 weeks to get all that done and get it done correctly, so they'll have to go back, continue to go back. So
Okay.
if that helps you out.
That's very interesting.
So you need 3 to 4 weeks to do